Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Manifesting Muslimah. I'm your host, Zara Pedersen, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about the new year, starting over, all of that good stuff. But before we get into it, if you're watching the video on this episode, you might be like, Zara, you look a little bit weird today, or like, what's going on with the hair? Well, here's the thing. I was actually procrastinating on sitting down and just getting this podcast recorded and filmed, and I kept making excuses, and I was like, I'll wait till I've gone to the gym, but before I go to the gym I have to just like oil my hair, and before I want to oil my hair I have to have breakfast, and before I have breakfast I want to do, and I was doing that whole thing where essentially you're just making excuses not to get the thing done. And so I decided we're going to do it together, because at this point, like I'm just not going to be recording today if I don't just sit down and do it. So hi girl, we're going to oil my hair together as we're getting into today's episode, which is, as I said, the new year. So as I'm recording this, it's the 29th of December. So the Sunday, and on Tuesday, inshallah, and on Tuesday, inshallah, it'll be the new year. And on Wednesday, we're all going to wake up, inshallah, and it'll be 2025, and time flies and all that good stuff. And listen, do I like New Year? I was going to say I like it just as much as the next person, but I've actually, like, with age, become more and more sort of like meh around like New Year, not like around the celebrations and stuff, or like only the celebrations, because I'm definitely a homebody, specifically on New Year, because I feel like people in and of itself are like mad and crazy, but specifically on New Year, people go out and they do even dumber stuff because, you know, it's New Year. Maybe that's just like what people used to do in Denmark and in London when I lived there, and I used to be a part of like the going out scene and all that good stuff. But that's kind of like how I experience New Year. People take things to the extreme. Like, we can't just party like a normal party. It has to be like the extreme party. And so I always felt like New Year was like, there was a couple of things. Number one, the crazies got crazier. Like, everybody did more than what they usually do, which is also has always made me feel kind of insecure around being out with people on New Year. But also the expectations. Oh my goodness, the expectations of New Year are always so incredibly high. And I used to fall victim to that as well when, you know, I was younger. Not anymore, alhamdulillah. But like when I was younger, and I'd see so many people put in a lot of effort to try and make New Year's Eve like this perfect celebration, and they have to look perfect, and the next day they have to wake up and their lives have to be perfect. And I just feel like it's so strange that we've gotten into a society where literally just the year's changing, like a new calendar date, and it's not even like, you know, the Islamic calendar change, but like, you know, it's just like whatever, has this like chokehold on us to want to go out and, you know, wanting to celebrate it in like some really extravagant, over the top way, and then it has to have some type of meaning in our lives, like it's like a reset. I think that's the thing. I think a lot of people also see it like, oh, it's a reset, so it cancels out everything else, and then we get to start from scratch. And I know I'm not the only one who've had these thoughts. In case you're wondering, by the way, I'm using castor oil for the bottom of my hair. What is it called? My scalp, not the bottom of my hair, the scalp. And then I'm going to use almond oil for the rest of it, for like the strands and the ends and all the broken bits of my hair. And I kind of just try and massage it in because it feels good, and it kind of loosens up all the dandruff and the build up, because I only like wash my hair once a week. So there we go. We've got a little extra information here from me to you today, so I hope you enjoy that. Okay, so there's a lot of expectations and all sorts, and I think I kind of tapped out of that once my frontal lobe had like developed beyond developing, because of course, like, it's not just like when I was 25, but like even a little bit older than that, of course, where I was like, hey, I actually get to restart whenever I want. Like, I don't have to wait for New Year. Like, I can decide that I want to change my life on a random Thursday in April. Like, I don't have to do that on January 1st. And I really feel like we are sort of like, in society, there's so much pressure around doing stuff for New Year's, like, oh, it's the new year, you have another chance to do. You have another chance every single day. And I think it's specifically for me really developed. So I'll say spiritually developed. Let me put that wording into it, because I really feel like that actually is what I mean when I say like my frontal lobe developed. It was more like that spiritual development of my frontal lobe, because that's when I realized that every single day is a new beginning. Every single day that you get is a blessing from Allah. And it really took the pressure off, specifically of like that whole like New Year's Eve has to be perfect, the Monday has to be perfect, the beginning of a new month, whatever it is that people use to measure like their reset by. Of course, New Year's is like the biggest one, and I am already seeing it absolutely everywhere on social media. Everybody's like, oh, I'm just doing this for the last few days, blah blah blah, and then like my whole life is going to change coming up to the new year, like resetting everything, decluttering my entire house. Like, listen, there's nothing wrong with doing any of these things. So if you're doing it, I'm not coming for you for doing it. I just want you to like rethink the mindset around it. That's what I'm doing, or like what I want to do with this episode. It's about the whole idea of like, there's only one time a year where you get to do these things, when in reality you can choose to do it whenever you want to. That's the whole point of free will. You can say, hey, I'm done with this old life of mine that's not bringing me joy, that's not bringing me pleasure, that's not moving me closer actively towards Allah, and I'm trying and I want to, you know, redo. I want to do it better this time, and actually just do that. And you can do it in the middle of the day, you can do it in the middle of the night, you can do it whenever you want to. And I think it's more about the perception of New Year, that somehow it feels for a lot of people like this magical, like, now I get to do that, now I get to be different, now I get to do whatever it is. And in reality, nobody stopped you except yourself the rest of the year, right? And again, like from a Muslim perspective, I think I'm going to say something, and okay, a controversial opinion here, so you don't necessarily have to agree with me, and I understand that, but the idolization almost of like New Year's Eve, I know it's not an idolization, but like the point where we put it on this like pedestal, I believe is a little bit dangerous, because Allah doesn't like, there's nowhere in the Quran that's like, hey, New Year's Eve is a good time to reset. Do you know what I mean? And so whenever we do that, we're placing importance on something that has no value. Like New Year's Eve holds no value, like from an Islamic point of view. And of course, not everything in this dunya has to hold like an Islamic value or worth or whatever. Sometimes it is just for fun, because we have to go through dunya and the little things make it interesting and fun. But I think when we literally postpone our lives because we're getting closer to New Year's Eve, that becomes problematic. It becomes problematic when we're putting so much effort and energy and focus and all that crap that we do towards New Year's Eve. When we do that and then we completely forget and neglect that at any moment Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can say, you're not even going to make it to New Year's Eve, and in fact today is your last day to do better, or you know, you're only going to get this much time for in the new year, whatever. Like, I know that sounds really morbid, but it's to set things into perspective that we don't know what's going to happen. And so when we keep postponing, Allah might be looking at us, shaking his head or whatever it is that he has that we might consider ahead, and going like, why are you wasting this time? Like, why are you wasting all this time leading up to this thing? And again, I'm not necessarily hating on New Year's Eve. I actually quite like the motivation that New Year's Eve gives people. I love that. I just wish that more of us would take that motivation and understand that we can apply it to any other time of the year. Any random Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, the date has no value, no significance. And in fact, you might actually also find that if you start just like on a regular whatever weekday throughout the year, that you might actually be able to maintain it better, because you're removing the pressure from yourself of having to perform a specific way, which New Year's Eve often comes with that kind of pressure of like, oh, everybody's doing it now and I have to like stay true to it and it has to look perfect. Whereas throughout the year, we don't apply that same kind of pressure to our promises to ourselves. We are a little bit more sort of like relaxed with it. There's more leeway, you know, we can kind of like fail a little and come back up on top and like keep resetting and retrying. Whereas for New Year's Eve, it almost feels like for most people, not everyone, so if it's not you, then that's fine, but for a lot of people it feels like, hey, I failed, it's been 3 weeks, so now I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to stop now because there's no point in kind of going on with it. There's no point in me continuing because I failed, so done, that's it. do you know what I mean? And listen, again, if that's not you, you probably know someone who's that kind of person, who's like, oh, I failed now. It's been 2 weeks of January and I didn't do it perfectly. And so I'm going to wait until, I don't know, Ramadan, Easter, I don't know, like winter solstice or summer solstice or whatever. I don't even know any of the things. The point is just like, almost like, oh, now I need to find like another excuse or another occasion. Other people also use their birthdays for that. If I could speak, that's what I would have said. I would have said birthdays. And it becomes the same thing of like putting a specific value on a specific day, when in reality there are no days in that way other than maybe Laylatul Qadr, and that's really the one that we should be placing kind of that kind of focus on. So if you want to like do like through and through New Year's resolutions, then do it on Laylatul Qadr's resolutions or something. Can I trademark that? Should we make that a thing? Maybe this year, inshallah. Let's work on that. I'm going to mental note that. Zara, you're going to forget it. If I forget it, can somebody please like remind me? Because I think that could be a really cute thing, like Laylatul Qadr's resolutions. And I really think that would also really show people, reminding them of how much more value Laylatul Qadr has instead of New Year's Eve, and like this whole rebranding situation and whatever. That's actually the night that you should be putting all of that effort into, and not New Year's Eve. Now I understand it feels good sometimes, like if you're a type A person or whatever, to but it's the beginning of the year and so it's easy to keep track and excuses, my babes, excuses. I'm just gonna say it. I know I'm full of like controversial opinions today. Clearly I don't know what mood this is, but we're in some kind of mood, and so just take it, and if you don't like it, you can always shut the episode off, or put me on mute and watch me oil my hair. I don't know, but anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so those are all excuses. Really what you want to do is put all that effort into every single day. Again, like I think with having had cancer at such a young age, at 19, and at an age as well where I understood mortality and the value of time, I really had to reflect on these things for myself. And so maybe, I don't know, maybe that really did something in my mind to really be like, ooh, at any moment now Allah can choose to take you out. And that's not that it wasn't true before I had cancer. It was just I had to face that. It had to become a reality of mine. I had to understand that and value that for what it was worth. And that meant to me that a lot of other things really lost significance, like majorly lost significance. Now, I will say one thing though, like I love a good reset just like the next person. I do them throughout the year, many times throughout the year. Maybe that's my ADHD, maybe it's something else. I don't care. The point is that I reset throughout the year several times a year. And if you listen to what episode was that? I don't know, one of the previous episodes of this month, you'll also see that I did a mood board or a vision board. So you might be sitting there thinking, but Zara, you had like a vision board. I remember you talking about like your mood board for the next year and whatever. It's not a reset. I've already started on all of those things. I started that in middle of November, I feel like it was, because I was like, okay, I need to give myself new goals to like work towards. And if I achieve those goals, I might, which some of them actually, alhamdulillah, subhanallah, have already started taking shape, simply because I set an intention and I pray for it with intention and clarity, because I took the time to get clear on my goals. And so some of them are already happening, and inshallah bidnillah, if it's meant to be this year, then it'll happen. But the moment that they're all done, I'm making myself another one. It's not necessarily conducive with a new year. It doesn't have to look that way, and it's more sort of like to keep me visually on track, remember what I'm doing, and why, like what are the goals here, because otherwise I am one of those people who scramble around like a headless chicken, like running around not really sure what's up and what's down. I'm definitely that person. I do think that there's an element of ADHD to that, where it's so much confusion in my mind that if I don't have clear goals and clear solutions and outcomes that I'm going for, then sometimes or oftentimes I end up getting really distracted by all the shiny things, and then all of a sudden I'm like working towards becoming an astronaut when in reality all I wanted was to be a horse masseuse, right? I don't know why those two examples, but that's the two examples that you're getting from me right now. So you know what, eat it. Okay. So you can still do all of those things. Also, because it's fun, romanticizing our lives. It's fun to romanticize our life and make things feel special. What I'm here for is not to make anything feel unspecial to you, but I want you to put things into perspective so that you don't get disappointed by your own expectations, all because of a certain calendar date. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I don't want you to be so disappointed that Allah isn't showing up for the 1st of January with the same vigor and intensity as you do, because Allah might, be like, but you're not asking me for it. You're literally just sitting down and creating a vision board, some affirmations. You did a declutter, and yeah, that's fine. But where is the dua? Where am I in this? Because the emphasis from you, even maybe subconsciously, is on New Year's Eve, not on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do you get what I'm saying? That's my issue. And again, the more we keep postponing things, the amount of people I've seen who are like, oh, I'll start in the new year. And I'm like, but who's to say you're here in the new year? Who's to say you're here in the new year? Sis, we're not about to do that to ourselves, are we? We're not about to postpone to the point where, we're laying on our graves and we're going, dang, if only I'd known. Dang, if only I'd tried. If only I'd, at least started it. Then people would have been the legacy of it, how people are going to remember me. Do you know what I mean? And Allah will see that I didn't just pray for things, I also strived for it, which is a huge thing as well in Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I can't remember what surah, you know how I am with those things. That we get what we strive for. So it's not enough just to make the dua. The dua is very powerful in and of itself, but Allah loves to see action. He likes to see us work towards the things that we're also asking for, right? So, put things into perspective for yourself. I'm just going to add a little bit more oil onto this first side. Oh, I love it. I definitely over oil. I don't care. I am a greasy babe, and I will leave this on until tonight, and then I'll wash it off, and then I'll go to sleep with clean hair. And then tomorrow morning when I have to wake up, I'll be like, I should just wash it in the morning. I never wash my hair in the morning. I like washing it at night. I like going to sleep with clean hair. I don't know what it is. Anyway, got distracted there for a second because I'm doing other things. I'm not very good at multitasking either. Anyway, that, my darling, is just what I wanted to share with you today. This is the last episode of the year of 2024, and it just kind of happened to land on a Monday, so like literally the day before New Year's Eve. Again, I don't want to discourage any of you of doing anything. I just want to put things into perspective so that you understand what it is that you're doing and why, and to make sure that you're putting the emphasis of your action on the right thing rather than on things that don't have any power, any value, any worth, right? I don't want you to put all this worth and power and status on New Year's Eve when all of that energy should be focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, nothing wrong, as I said, putting out intentions for the next year and whatever, but make sure that you're not putting it all on the fact that it is a new year. Make sure that you're putting it on the fact that sorry, the camera just shook there because I literally just kicked the table. Make sure that you're combining it with, with the will of Allah. Make sure if it's not this year, then it's the next one. Don't look at it as in this is the end all and be all of the next year and it's only going to happen because now I'm in a new year, so now I get to take action on these things or anything like that. Make sure to put things into a perspective that is good for you, that is helpful, rather than one that is putting so much pressure on yourself that honestly most people tend to fail because they expect to see change within the first 30 days. They want to see their lives, changing from a shit show to an absolute success within the month of January, when in reality, for most people, life is going to look the same for quite a long time, because what people need to do is not just set intentions, they have to act on it, they have to work on their mindset, they have to do a lot of things, which realistically we can't do in only a month. It takes time. It's a process. It's a journey. Sometimes we have to revisit things. We feel like, oh, we've got it nailed now. We've got the routines, the habits, whatever. And then something happens and it knocks us off course and we have to restart. And if we're waiting every time for a new year or like an occasion to do that, we're wasting a lot of time. We're wasting a lot of precious time that Allah has so graciously given us, and to basically stay stuck. We're wasting time and choosing to stay stuck. So make sure that you're not putting that kind of emphasis on New Year's Eve for yourself. Make sure that you're opening yourself up to the possibility of change every day of the year, and to restart whenever you want to. And have fun with the new year in a different way. Have fun with it, so that, oh, but this is fun, but I also understand that this is just another night of the year. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't hold Islamic significance or anything like that. So it's just another night of the year, and the energy and focus that I otherwise might have put into New Year's Eve, I'm going to put into Laylatul Qadr. And really make sure that we understand the value of the night. Wow, that was a big old chunk of hair that I just flung onto myself, and I spat on myself too. Wow, Zara, you are really a mess today. Alhamdulillah. All right, my darling, I am super oiled up now. I'm gonna put my hair into braids. I'm gonna get dressed. I'm gonna pray my asr, and then I'm gonna go to the gym and have pretty much a quiet day the rest of the day, inshallah. That's at least what I'm hoping for. I will see you in the next year, inshallah. But until then, my darling friend, please don't forget to live in love.